Good morning, church family. Trent Snyder here. As I shared this morning's devotion with you, I just want to share a passage from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 14. And this is the passage of after Jesus feeds the 5,000, the multitude. We see him and approaching the disciples as he's walking on water. So we see one of these miracles that are demonstrated by Christ, being fully human, but yet fully God, and demonstrating his power and authority over this earth. As Jesus is walking on the water, he approaches the disciples as they're on the boat, and they're fearful of him. And it's interesting to see here that it says, later that night he was there alone. In the boat, he was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. In verse 25, it says, shortly before dawn, Jesus went to them, walking on the lake. And when the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, take courage, it is I, don't be afraid. And then we see Peter here. He responds to Jesus and said, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. And Jesus said, come. And then it says, Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind and wave, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, Lord, save me. I think it's interesting here that we see in our life, as well as Peter's, there's a lot of times in our life where we go through storms of life, and oftentimes we are intimidated by our surroundings, the circumstances, the things that are going on. Much like Peter, when Peter in the boat, they were fearful, they saw Christ, and when they identified who Jesus was walking on the water, I think it's interesting, Peter was the only one of the disciples that demonstrated enough faith to step out of the boat and walk on water toward Jesus. But we see that the moment Peter took his eyes off Christ, that he became fearful and began to sink in the water. So I just want that to be our challenge today. All of us go through circumstances in our life. Some of us go through job insecurity, job loss, especially during this time of COVID, financial shortcomings, marriage problems, cancer diagnosis, all kinds of things in our life. And I just want to be a challenge to you to say, keep your eyes focused on Christ in our life. The wind and the waves and the storms are always going to be around us. But I think it's interesting is if we keep our focus on Jesus Christ, that we're able to do some just incredible things, such as walk on water as Peter did here. Only if we stay focused on Christ. But if we look at the circumstances, that's when we begin to sink. So whatever you're going through today, I pray and ask that you would seek God and put your faith in him and your trust in him and call out to him and reach out and grab his hand. Hope you have a blessed day. Thank you.